Good evening. I wanted to touch base with you. I have returned all the drafts that I got with my feedback, and I've made comments on everybody's and explained some issues. And so I just wanted to come on here and point out some things that are linked to the argument persuasion draft. 3 different documents I want to look at. The concerns that arose among all of the papers. I also want to point out one more time this annotated sample paper because it really will help you with your own. And also the grading criteria, because next week after you have submitted these final drafts, I will do a quick grading on them. I will highlight areas that are problems, but I'm not going to spend as much time. I've spent 8 hours reviewing 8 papers, if that tells you anything about the life of an English teacher. Anyway, my grading next week will not be that laborious because you should have already fixed everything, right? And so it should be pretty easy. So, okay, the first thing I want to look at are the... Which one do I want to go with first? Let's look at the concerns here. So I've just typed these out. These are things that have come up. I kind of made notes of everybody's paper. So let's make sure that we have our MLA citing right. Some of you are like using APA, which that's Comp 2, if anything. Don't use APA. Follow the guidelines. Use your textbook. I cannot stress to you enough. I just cannot stand the templates or generators that you use in Microsoft. I've been teaching for like 15 years or so, and I've never used a generator in Microsoft. Don't do it. Use your textbook. It makes it messy. It makes it hard for me to respond to you. It just makes the paper yucky. Don't do it. But get them right. So study carefully these sections in the textbook that deal with in-text citations and works cited. So I have made comments individually to you all. If you are having some trouble, pay attention to those comments. And everyone, make sure your works cited page is in ABC order. Make sure that you are actually using sources in your paper. If you do not use any sources when you should, that is plagiarism, and that is a 0. Okay, so some of you have trouble with quotes. We can't just be dropping in quotes willy-nilly. They have to be set up. You have to cite them properly, yes, but you won't double cite. Anyway, according to, use signal phrases. You can find these signal phrases in the MLA section as well. And they should add substance to your argument. You don't just drop them in because you're meeting a quota, this imaginary quota. So again, study carefully your sample papers. There's a sample paper in, there's 2 or 3 in your textbook, in the A section, and then in the MLA section, and maybe it's a different one. Anyway, but for sure the sample paper that I'm about to show you. Your audience, absolutely do not use you. I cannot believe the number of students who used you in this paper. Stop. Your audience is a general adult educated audience. Talk to them, but you're not talking to any one specific person. You are presenting this in a third person point of view, ideally. And so don't use you. Speaking of point of view, many of you, are throwing in I, me, and my. Don't. This is an academic paper. Some of you are using our and we, like when you're representing humanity, and that's a little different. That's more acceptable, but not to be rude. No one is, let's see, your opinions are not that desired, okay? We are more interested in research material, and so that's why you really need to stick to third person point of view. I think everybody had a thesis statement, but just make sure that your thesis doesn't include the I. You don't say I believe or in my opinion. You just state the thesis, and also that you're proving your thesis with the evidence that you use. Think about your organization. So there are a few of you that I have given a suggested order to. You want to make your points. So your points are your paragraphs, and they should come in the way that makes the most sense to really drive your point home, your argument home. Paragraphs need to be focused, so one paragraph should center around one basic idea, and each paragraph should start with a topic sentence that sets that paragraph up, and that is in your own words. Do not use source information in topic sentences. Sometimes you might still cite a source if it's really specific information, but you're still not going to quote anybody in a topic sentence. It needs to be in your own words. A couple of you built your paper around your sources, which is something I repeat in several places to not do. Your paper should be your points, and then you use the sources to support your points. So whenever you've built your paper around the sources, it makes it really difficult and messy. So work on fixing that, and make sure that you are providing enough evidence to support your thesis. And then there's a couple of like mechanics issues, still a lot of issues with comma usage. Let me say this. As far as mechanics go, these were some of the best papers I've ever looked at, and you guys have done well all summer so far. But still, we have some comma issues. So there are some unnecessary commas, there are some missing commas, and there are some comma splices. And for the most part, I have highlighted any of those areas. You're just going to have to figure out what it is that I've highlighted. And also, a few of you have some fragments and run-ons. One of the biggest issues is pronoun antecedent agreement, and I do realize that in commonplace writing these days that people do not follow pronoun antecedent rules. However, let's still attempt to do so in this composition class. It's not like we are writing some just op-ed piece. We are in composition class, so let's work on the mechanics now. And just remember, one person is a he or she, and two people is they. So, okay, I'm going to pause and move over to a different video to finish this up.